Hello, welcome to Literary Biscuits. My name is Lynn, and I'm here with my partner,
Mackenzie.
Earlier today, we interviewed a couple brave souls about William Carlos Williams.
Here's what they said.
I don't want to talk to them, they look into it. Do you know who William Carlos Williams is?
No.
No.
No, I don't.
Okay, this is a poem of his. Will you read it and then tell us what you think about it?
Okay. To a poor old woman.
Machine a plum on the streets, a paper bag on them, on their head. It tastes good on her, they taste good to her, they taste good to her. You can see it by the way she gives herself to the one puff, sucked on her hand. Comfortable and soft, the ripe plums seeming and fill the air and tasting good to her. What even is this?
Oh, it's really repetitive. It's kind of weird.
The real question is, why doesn't anybody know about this famous revolutionary 19th century poet?
Right.
William Carlos Williams was one of the first people to practice imagism and modernism in his poetry, which gave him a very, very unique style. It was something that drew his readers in and was extremely effective.
Yeah, and that's why I got a little offended when the people we interviewed said it was a little weird and strange, when really it's just that's what appealed to the people.
Yeah, at that time. And I think his poetry had a very American style to it, and if you read some of his poems, you will see that when you read them.
Right.
In the poem that we showed everybody, we found that a lot of them tend to look at the surface of it and just the words that were used and the repetitive aspect of it instead of what was really like the underlying meaning.
So the poem was about a woman that was eating out of a bag of plums. And you would think that a bag of plums isn't really that savory, that tastes delicious,
Special too.
That's special to normal people like, us. And William writes about her as if that bag of plums was something that was so special to her because of the way she ate and reacted to it. And it was something that we take for granted for. And William kind of showed us that.
So tell us a little bit about William Carlos Williams' past and how he grew up.
Well, William, he grew up in New Jersey, and he was born into a family with an artistic background. His mother was an artist, and his father valued literature. Despite this, though, his parents wanted him to take the medical path and become a doctor.
They valued success over everything.
Right, even though, literature was everything to them. And, his grandmother was Emily Dickinson.
Oh?
Yeah, and I feel like that William wanted to follow in her footsteps and, things like that. But his parents kind of pressured him into taking this medical path.
So when he was in high school, was he really into reading and writing and?
He was into math and science, actually. And then as he grew up and got older, he took a liking in the arts.
Oh, that's really cool.
Right, and he started writing literature. And
did he go straight to college out of high school, and how was his college experience?
After he finished high school, he went straight to the university and studied.
Did he meet anybody there or anybody that helped him shape his literary career?
He met Pound, actually, the poet. And Pound actually supported and encouraged William to make his literature better, and Pound inspired him. Pound was an influence to him.
And that really helped motivate him to start his literary career?
Right. And what Pound did was bring him into the imagism movement with a couple other poets. Mm-hmm.
So, is this something that Pound and Williams continue to do, or
No.
why did they stop?
Pound's poems were really heavily inspired by European culture, and that sort of actually really did. It made William distance himself from his influence. But because of that, he found a different way to write, something that wasn't inspired by Europe, inspired by America.
Which brings us to his writing style.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about his writing style?
He definitely wrote a very American verse, as people like to describe it. He had a very honest sense to his writing. He was very enthusiastic about his surroundings, and actually him being a medical doctor helped contribute to sort of the reality of his poems. It was very much inspired by his patients and the world he saw around him.
Right. So did William practice a specific type of writing?
Yeah, actually, as you mentioned earlier, he did practice things like modernism and imagism, more importantly, imagism in almost all of his poems, which imagism is a style of writing where the poets value using words for art, and they really make clear pictures and paint pictures with their words for anybody who's reading, and it's also a very enticing aspect to poetry.
Okay, let's bring this back to the poem that we had for our man on the street. How did that reflect, like his history and his writing style reflect into that poem?
In the poem, we see a lot of imagism. He talks about how the lady is holding the plums and how she eats them, and he describes how they taste in a very clear manner and how they feel when she bites into them, and that's definitely a good description, and it sort of makes you feel as though you're the one eating the plums, which is very effective.
And I find that the poem makes me a little guilty because I take so many things for granted
Definitely. I think that also goes along with his sense of honesty, and which brings us to another poem, one of his more famous ones. It's called To Elsie.
Right.
And it's a poem that's definitely written with that American verse, and he basically talks about the world and what he sees around him in America, and in the last few stanzas of the poem, he talks about how America is like a car, and we're going to run off the tracks if we don't have somebody to drive the car, which he's talking about how we are a problem, we have a problem, and unless we get somebody that can take care of us, we are eventually doomed to the end, which is very serious, and also another aspect of his honesty, which I think is very, very effective.
Round 1. So Mackenzie will be, Jack will be.
What would you like, ma'am?
What's your favorite poem?
Would you like to try this one?
Can you give me a scoop of that one?
Why don't you want that one?
What does this one taste like?
Why don't you try it?
You have.
What do you say, huh?
Okay, point for Jack and Jason!
Round 2, Jason the doctor and Lynn the pregnant lady.
When is my baby due?
Shouldn't you know that?
You're the doctor, right?
And you're the...
Okay.
Point for
We get the
Lynn.
point!
Round 3, Lynn the mother and Jack the child.
Can you do your chores?
Can I hold your hand?
Why did I give birth to you?
You know the answer.
Why do you have to be such a brat?
Why did you raise me to be a brat?
Why did I have to spoil you?
Why didn't Dad spoil me?
I don't know where it was. Shoot. Round 3. Jason is the waiter and Mackenzie is the customer.
Why did you spill my drink?
Where did you get that drink?
Can't your manager fire you for that?
Can't you manage to not spill your drink?
Aren't you the one who spilled it?
I wasn't here when that happened. This is why you have me play, because I'm a winner from audio.
Round 5, Lynn the customer and Jack the cashier.
Would you like your check?
Can you put them in the paper bag?
Can you pay for that man's order too?
Why are you asking me this?
Why are you coming in not expecting to pay for other people?
Are you kidding me?
Don't you do charity work?
What does charity work have to do with me buying my groceries?
I thought we were at a restaurant.
Round 6. Mackenzie is the boss or manager, and Jason is the Jason. There we go. Jason is the waiter who works for Mackenzie. Ready, set, go.
When do I get paid?
Why don't you ever do your work?
Because you never tell me to do
That's quick.
Well, Golden Oreo wins! Yeah, high five. Nice. Round 7. Mackenzie is a criminal, and Jason is a policeman.
Did I do something wrong?
Shouldn't you know that?
What do you think I did?
Why did you do it?
Why are you taking me?
Take a wild guess.
Are you gonna get me coffee at the station?
What do you think?
You said take a wild guess.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't
not
say that.
that's not a question.
You said take a wild guess. That's not a question.
Hey, Golden Oreo wins!
What is that, like the 6th time I beat you?
We're going again. Give me another one. Parker the platypus. President and a communist.
I think we're done.
Round 5, Lynn the customer and Jack.
Okay. And Jack the Lynn's the customer. Parker the platypus versus Mackenzie. Parker the platypus
This is the last
plus
round.
Mackenzie
Okay,
the mooing man cow. What was that? The sponge? Okay. So
Okay,
I am
ready?
gonna be-
Oh, I'm gonna tell you now. Ready, set.
Why did you arrest me?
Shouldn't you know that?
Why do you think I did something wrong?
Don't you think you did something wrong?
Where are you taking me?
Take a wild guess.
Are you gonna give me dinner?
Pretty good. Don't do it again.
That's not your sponge. Stop.
Do you want to die? Come at me.
I don't know. Can you?
Come
kill-
here.
I don't know. Can you?
Stupid bum.
I don't know. Can you kill me?
During the time that William started writing poetry, he was heavily surrounded by poets who were still in the Romantic era, which their writing really reflected that. They really romanticized and used a lot of cliche elements in their writing, and you can tell when you read it how the tempo constantly changes.
that's true. But there was like a casual manner that William had in his written works, you know? It was like as if he was talking to an old friend. Very leisurely, casual.
He definitely broke away from that Romantic era type of poetry, and I think that really influenced some other people. Like, he wrote his poem with Hilda Doolittle and all these different people, and they all started to practice the same thing that he did, and I think you can still find traces of this type of poetry around today. So what is confusing is, why don't more people know about this type of poetry?
Right.
His work was very relatable. It didn't talk about really hard topics such as love or death or anything that was really common at the time. Like we said about the poem that we did for Our Man on the Street, it was about plums, and it was just very simple, but also had a very
Yeah, and
complex
it
meaning.
was very easy to understand. Like the words he used wasn't like very complicated. Simple, crisp, clean. That's how William wrote.
So why don't more people know about this poet, this really amazing, unique, styled poet?
Well, I think it's because he's very underrated.
Especially with, I feel like, with today's society, and you see it on social media all the time, I like to describe it as cliche, and something that's so original as this in our developed society, as it's kind of looked at as a little bit weird, a little bit strange, when really I feel like it's original, and I feel like it's very influential.
I agree. Well, this has been Literary Biscuits. My name is Lynn,
My name is Mackenzie.
and thank you for listening.